Hello everybody, so today I wanted to do a deep dive on Halo 2 cut content. And in doing this, I am going to analyze some of the old Bungie Vidocs that I guess they used to promote Halo 2. So these were recorded during Halo 2 development, and they're basically just a bunch of the Bungie employees discussing the game, but in the backgrounds, there are some interesting things that we don't see ever anywhere else. What I'm going to do is I've just made a compilation of all those things and put them together in this video, and we're going to discuss it. So, the first documentary is called Behind the Scenes Making of Halo 2. So, let's begin. Okay, we get this first shot of this guy talking, but look in the background. This looks like a promotional image or something, but it was never released. I don't remember seeing it anywhere ever. This is the only time I've ever seen it. And it's, if you can't tell, it's Master Chief in a gravity throne. Alright. And then next we have some shots of a level editor. I couldn't really make out what mission this is. It might be completely cut. It looks kind of like Quarantine Zone by this image, but there's foliage, and there's actually not foliage in Quarantine Zone like this much. It looks like a Earth City mission. Oh, and here's an early shot of the new Mombasa sign. But it's different. If anyone can read these characters, I don't know, Cantonese, Mandarin, these Chinese characters, but they don't actually appear. I've added an image of vanilla, and it looks like this. See, those Chinese characters are gone. It just says welcome Caribou Iduba Daku. But if we go back, there's those Chinese characters, and everything else seems about the same on the billboard. The artwork looks similar. Yeah. So let's see what we have next. Okay, this guy talking, but in the background, I couldn't recognize this map at all. It's not in vanilla, but I don't think it is. I have no clue what that is, but there's a zoom in of it. Okay, and next, we get to see some early shots of the E3 demo when they were making it. So, here, let's just play it through. There's a shadow, but it's untextured. And then this scene is pretty cool. There's brutes here. Let's go frame by frame. It's weird because everyone's holding their weapon like a support weapon, like you would hold, you know, the brute shots in the campaign. The brutes and Master Chief are holding their weapons like that. Master Chief has an SMG, but the brutes have plasma rifles. And that's what they're using here. And then they have a purple projectile. And the Marine has a green arrow above his head like you see in CE, but that's not in Halo 2. And a brute is boarding that warthog, which is not in vanilla Halo 2 either. And then here's a slower frame by frame. I don't know why the shadow has like a heat image on it from this perspective right here. And the Marine in the warthog looks like a CE Marine. It's very unfinished. Yeah, and then a slow frame by frame of this again. Doesn't look... Yeah, just everything is finished. And in the background, those are parts of the E3 demo. I'm pretty sure the next shot will show it more. Okay, so we get to see them making the E3 demo here. Everything looks like a block out. It's not finished. And then some shots of cutscenes of a Pelican and a Marine. So this was the E3 demo cutscene. I've noticed they actually repurposed a lot of this for Outskirts, like right here. Actually, there was a frame. Yeah, this is the sniper that's on Outskirts, you know, that beginning cutscene. But this is a weird view of him. You don't see like a head-on view like this. And then there's two Marines here, but in vanilla on Outskirts, this guy is Johnson. But I think they're making this for the E3 demo. It was repurposed for Outskirts. And then a shot of Chief in the back of the Pelican, and it looks like these are ODSTs with him. which is interesting. We'll see very soon why ODSTs are with him. But, and then a shot of the E3 demo, back to this. Early version, everything's a blackout. Reverse it a little bit. There's no cover here, just Marines lined up. And then this is just a scene from the demo, I guess. And yet, I think, was that? It looks like he has an ODST with him. It's really low quality. I think the light, yeah. I don't know, that might be an ODST, but were there ODSTs in the demo? And then here's an early version of the cutscene of the outro of the demo. The Phantom comes crashing down. And this is really cool. There's a first-person view of the Ghost. We don't ever see that in Halo 2. Not even in the demo. And then I've added this in. This is what the final version of that cutscene you just saw looked like. So the Phantom's chasing the Ghost. The Phantom still crashes, but he does it in a different way. The sign crashes on him. And then that first person view of the Ghost you don't ever see. Okay, now back to this scene. Oh, so I wanted to highlight that brute boarding animation here. Yeah, and actually first, we'll look at the background. See the background here. This location is what turned out to be here. You see that same building on the right is on the left here. So that was just an early version of the demo. I guess they were making it. And the brutes have brute shots now instead of plasma rifles. And the brute boarding the Warthog, that is never seen in vanilla. Now it goes into a modeling program here showing it off. It's not in vanilla, but it is actually in the game files. It was actually one of the first videos I made on this channel. And I'll show you my video of what it looks like in game in a second here, I think. Yeah, so you can hit the driver and passenger side. And this is just scenes of the animator playing around with it. And then this is what it looks like in game. Which is deactivated in vanilla. Now, of course, brutes and marines brutes and warthogs never come in contact in vanilla. But okay, and this next, I thought this was interesting because this is the E3 demo, but it actually shows like the debug rasterizer text. And the reason I included this is because here, this is what the driver is saying. It's like transcribed here. So he says, "I could use a gunner, sir." So I thought this was interesting because in vanilla on the mission Metropolis, when you first meet Sergeant Stacker in that Gaussog, he says something very similar to this. He says, "I could use a gunner, sir." So this could have been repurposed for that part in vanilla. You know where you drive around the park when you first get the Gaussog. And then this second text, what does this say? Oh, yeah, it says... Actually, I just now noticed that. It says ODST and then a colon. So ODST is saying this. He says, "Go, sir. We got your back." So I guess they're pushing Master Chief to leave them and go in the Warthog with the driver. Okay. So this next part was really interesting. See this gun here, this weapon here? This is never in Halo 2. Nothing looks like this. So this image was actually cropped in one of the Halo discords, and people were saying that that was the Halo CE fuel rod cannon. But I don't think so. I've edited a picture in, and it doesn't really look like a fuel rod cannon. Yeah, so I put this fuel rod cannon image here. This below, now this appears to be partially in the ground, but it still doesn't resemble the fuel rod cannon to me. And then, in case I had the angle messed up, I put it upside down. This is a little closer, but still, look at the barrel. So, this little curve here would probably be this curve here. But, the barrel is totally different. This barrel is a cylinder that sticks straight out, right? But it appears in this image, it curves downward into the ground. I don't know what that's about. To me, this is not this fuel rod cannon. It's not to me. Or the vanilla one. It looks like something I can't think of what it could be. I've never seen anything like that. And we never do. This is the only time ever we see an image of it. And then this is the sniper rifle, looks to be. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Okay, now we get some test shots of like this little testing playing field they have to test out sounds. I can't really make out what these weapons are on the top right. The video is too low quality. But we do get to see some other interesting stuff. Right here. You notice anything weird about this mongoose? Master Chief is actually holding a battle rifle while he's driving it. So I'll go into this deeper later, but I just wanted to show that off right now. Because there's a different dock where it goes into the mongoose, so I'll talk about that more. But this scene here, nothing out of the ordinary. These vehicles look normal. But we have the mongoose, which if you don't know, this was a cut vehicle from Halo 2. It's not in vanilla, but it remains in the mod files. But next to it, this is the Uber chassis. Now, Digsight recently made it. They added it, and it is drivable, but we don't ever see that in vanilla. There's something else about it that I'll show in a second here. And here, just some oddity textures, I guess. And then this guy just testing out that little playing field. And here, okay, a couple things. About the Uber chassis I was talking about, look at its doors. It actually has butterfly doors. I don't even think Digsight included that with the Uber chassis they added. So yeah, the Uber chassis you see around vanilla Halo 2, you never see them open their door, but they actually have butterfly doors like that. And then here, we don't see this in vanilla either. This is like, it's a ball, but it has like a Rubik's Cube texture. There's a soccer ball in Halo 2, but it has a different texture and it's a different size. Okay, here we see the different melee animations. These are added with Digsight. And then this guy just knocking around some boulders. Pretty normal. But, and when we get to see the mongoose again, he's still using the battle rifle on it. Okay, this was interesting. This guy hits the top off of this pedestal, this Forerunner pedestal. So that doesn't actually happen in vanilla. Those things are not destructible. There is a cut version that is, but it's not in vanilla. And this is what they look like in vanilla. This Forerunner pedestal is not destructible. There's a shorter version that's not destructible either. And take a look at that firing effect. It has like red. When it hits the wall, there's a red puff. It's quite different from vanilla. And then here's that Forerunner pedestal again. Untextured, but you can, there's two pieces to it. Alright, we get to see that Rubik's Cube ball again. And here he's just showing off the sound. But that's not really important here. Oh, and I thought this was really cool. This Sentinel, I'm pretty sure we never see this animation. It looks like a surprise animation. It sticks out its arms and shakes them. Why did I include this clip? Let's see what's in here. Oh, it looks, unless the reticle just popped up. Yeah, I think it just popped up. But he has the CE HUD in the top right there. Alright. In this spot, in vanilla, we never see buggers here. This is, I think the mission is called Delta Temple. We don't see buggers. And there's these placeholder like crates here that are not in vanilla, of course. That elite looks really weird. So that said, the middle crate had large boulder on it, and these say space crate. So I guess they had planned to have space crates here, and then There's boxes in the middle, but in vanilla, it turned out to be... This is still the early footage, but it's a little more fleshed out. We see these Forerunner objects. Those are in vanilla in the middle. And the shading looks a little weird. So we see some shots of Master Chief. I included this because I couldn't... This is like a pre-release map, I guess. I couldn't make out what it was, but it was interesting. Master Chief model looks about the same. Okay, those ODSTs from the E3 demo and the Pelican shot. This is Outskirts. In Outskirts, you don't get ODSTs, but they're here in this little scene. So I guess originally they had planned for ODSTs to be in that Pelican with you. In vanilla, they're normal Marines. Just going back and forth a few frames so you can see them. And then I zoomed in a little bit here. So yeah. And I thought this shot was interesting. This is that Outskirts cutscene once again, but do you notice anything interesting? Well, right here, there's a Marine driving the Warthog. Now you probably think, yeah, that's normal, right? But it's different in vanilla. And I've included the vanilla clip here. In vanilla, the Warthogs are actually empty. All of them are. But you probably never notice it when the cutscene is playing at normal speed. I just thought it was weird. Why would they remove that? Did they think, was it an error, or did they think no one would notice? And then here's just a shot of the Brute. He just has nothing out of the ordinary but the Brute plasma rifle. It looks a little bit lower quality than in vanilla. Like a block outer, maybe. Okay, I thought this was really weird. I couldn't make out for the longest time what this object was. Here, I'll just play it in full. It looks, I thought maybe it was a Wraith. But after further analysis, it's actually the Prophet's gravity throne. But it's, for some reason, it's scaled very large and it's upside down. Yeah, I don't know why. And then this looks to be one of those test maps just with a different texture that we were seeing earlier with the Mongoose gameplay. And then here's a shot of the beam rifle. It's got an oval shape to it, right? This is the scope when you zoom in with the beam rifle. And then these parallel lines leading to the center. But it looks quite different. This is vanilla that I've added in here. Vanilla, it's not just oval, it's got some more just more detail, more shape to it. Yeah. Okay, so this guy Pete Parsons is talking, but in the background is what I'm interested in. If we zoom in, it's an early version of the Covenant Carbine. And it's missing its ammo meter counter here. And it has a battle rifle HUD. And I couldn't really make out, maybe it's the quality of the video, but it looks like it has 2 rows of ammo. But maybe these are just long bullets instead of 2 rows. I was thinking there was a split right through here. But I don't know. It's too low quality. Okay, and we see our... We'll talk about this boy later, but we get a glimpse of it right here. This is the Sentinel Enforcer. But stay tuned. Okay. Because, the reason why is they don't go into it in this video, but we'll see it in a later video. Right now, we get to see shots of the Banshee. I thought this was very interesting too. Because look at the Banshee. It has blue fire coming all out of it. That's actually not in vanilla at all. And then, of course, it's open, which is weird, but that's probably just because it's early. But I just wanted to hone in on that blue fire. I thought it was really cool. Here's a regular Banshee with it. See all the blue puffs of rolling smoke right here coming out of the Banshee? It's still alive, by the way. But now it blows up. And this is what it looks like in vanilla. When the Banshees are damaged, they still tear open, but there's no like rolling flames that come out of them like that It's kind of dull. I think this is like a dulled down. I guess there was too many particles or something. There is still some fire when you destroy him, but it's not definitely not rolling flames like we just saw. And this is me just totally destroying a Banshee. It has some fire once it's totally destroyed, but not like we saw. Okay, so that concludes that first documentary. The next one I want to delve into is called Cutting Room Floor Cinematics. This one shows some early cut cinematics from Halo 2. So, to start off, let me give some background. This is from the mission The Great Journey, where you save Johnson and then he jumps in the Scarab. There was going to be a whole cutscene here. So I've edited the clips to just play it as a whole sequence. So I'll just play it. I might pause it some, but... So that is Johnson. They're just using a placeholder Marine. He's handcuffed. The brutes have him handcuffed. Brute's talking on his walkie-talkie or something, I guess. We don't get to hear a lot of the sound because the developers are talking in the background. And then he's gonna take out Johnson, I guess. But the Arbiter comes out and saves the day. And then there's gonna be this awesome fight scene between the brutes and the Arbiter. They were saying this was supposed to be like an interactive cutscene. Like, I guess, press X to punch. But they're talking about how it would be hard to animate, to add in the game. It was too hard, too much work for what time they had. Body slams the Arbiter. And they do play some lines, I'll add those in. When they're not talking in the background. He chokes out the brute. This brute survives and he picks up the brute shot. But Johnson saves him. And he frees Johnson here.
Tell me, human, can you drive a Scarab?
And then I guess there's some dialogue here.
They're gonna know we're coming.
Alright, and then this is what it turned out to be in vanilla. Most of it is not a cutscene at all, but you actually just fight the brutes normally. And then there's a small cutscene once you save Johnson, right here. This is vanilla. Yeah. So the next scene is on the mission. Yeah. This was an early cut version, of course. I guess this is where the Arbiter's there on the right, and I guess the shipmaster is walking in with him. Or no, the shipmaster was on the right.
What has happened?
The prophets blame us for that braggart Regret's demise, and decided to replace our best warriors with these imbeciles.
And then the Arbiter goes in. Yeah, the Arbiter goes in. I thought this was really cool. Look, the Arbiter does that with his hand. You don't see it, but I think he just activates the energy sword right there. The way he moves his hand, and it scares the brutes away. And then this part is... Oh, we get to see walking prophets if it were added. I guess those are prophet miners. And then you go up to the main prophets here. Arbiter's kneeling to the prophets. And then I think there's some dialogue right here.
It was clear the elites could no longer guarantee our safety.
But we have always been your protectors.
These are trying times for all of us.
Yeah, so. And the Prophets still have their early helmets. And like really late into development, they all had this helmet. They were all the same. And it'll show that a little bit more later too. And they're basically saying this one would be hard to animate too with what time they had, and they thought it was too long.
How well do you know the writ of union?
As well as I did the day I swore my oath.
Recite the first canto.
So full of hate were our eyes that none of us could see. Our war would yield countless dead, but never victory.
So let us cast arms aside, and like discard our wrath. Thou in faith will keep us safe whilst we find the path. Hungry for power and dominion, our ancestors met on the field of battle. Indeed, I suspect we would still be at each other's throats had the prophets not found evidence of the Forerunners and their great journey.
Okay, yeah. So, and then there's like these Egyptian type murals that you don't. This whole part is not even vanilla. But they're saying how this would show the dichotomy between the elites and prophets, and give some story of the covenant hierarchy. I thought these images were really cool. That elite and prophet fighting. The prophet has like a dagger in his hand, and the elite has a spear. Oh, and these things, those look like the creatures from CE, don't they? Elites are stabbing them. And then I thought this was funny. I'll pause it right here. So, like, this reminds me of that one, like, famous evolution picture. Like, the grunts turning into this, evolving into this giant. But I think these are just different pictures of the species of Covenant. Yeah, that's a brute. That's a bugger. That might be a hunter, actually. Wait, I want to go back a few frames. Like, we saw the elites fight. They might have been fighting hunters. A grunt, bugger, jackal, brute, hunter, maybe. And then that might... I don't know what that is, but... What do you guys think it is? And then this gives a little bit story of the rings, the importance of all the Halo rings. So yeah, and then the most important ring, I guess. This would have been really cool in vanilla. I really wish they had this scene. I think they said it was like 7 minutes long. The truce between prophets and elites to get to the ring. Yeah, they're saying that it was just too long. They thought it would bore players. And then I'll show you what it looks like in vanilla in a second. Dang, it's still going on. It was dialogue right there too. And then this is it in vanilla. You just briefly see that scene of the brutes and elites, and the arbiter just walks straight into the room. But this time the shipmaster's still in the room. In that cut cinematic, you meet him in the hallway. And then there's just this pretty long dialogue, but there's not that whole scene with all the murals and stuff on the walls. And then it's ending here. Okay, so that was the cut cinematics. So we'll go back to more of like looking at those computer monitors and stuff here. This documentary I'm analyzing is Cutting Room Floor, Weapons, Vehicles, and Characters. So we see some shots of the mongoose. Actually, its wheels are turning. I'm pretty sure the mongoose that's in the mod files, the wheels don't turn on it. But yeah, like I've stated already, this is a cut vehicle from Halo 2, but it's still in the like the modding kit that they released. And you can't actually use weapons on it, which we saw. You can't use weapons while you're driving it unless you like mod it, make it your own. Okay, now we're back to seeing him use a weapon on it. So, yeah. It looks like he rested on the windshield, but he's using a battle rifle. I guess this was their way to make it like the Ghost, to not have before the gun goose. And so I added this picture in here. This was an early magazine about Halo 2, but it's interesting on the mongoose specifically. First of all, it's just called ATV. It's not called mongoose yet. And everything else is labeled properly, but this is just called ATV. And it's described as we just saw in the video. Take a look at this passage. The weapons. Doesn't have any onboard weapons, but the driver can use the pistol or any one-handed weapon to fire straight ahead. Essentially, you lean forward and rest your gun on the windshield, so at least you aren't completely defenseless like the driver of the Warthog. So that might have seemed like shocking to a lot of people if you would have just read that, but there's footage of it too right here. Now the battle rifle is a two-handed weapon, but nevertheless, yeah, this is like, it's like before they had the idea of the gun goose, this is what they had in mind. You would just use your battle rifle on it. But there was another interesting thing about that footage we just saw too. Right here. In the background, see that purple thing? That seems to be an early version of the Spectre. Now, it seems to be just a block out of the Spectre. Like before it was finalized, the shapes are a little bit more rough here. I don't think it was a different design necessarily, and it doesn't have a texture. There is something right here that might be a distorted texture, but for the most part it's just plain purple and smooth with blocky shapes. And the turret is a little bit different. It doesn't have the armor pieces. But then again, I don't think it's a different design, just that it's an early model. And then we see some shots of the cut flamethrower from Halo 2. Now this might not be new to a lot of people because this was in one of the betas, I believe. So there's some footage of it out there, but I just thought these images of it were cool. And we see a picture here of Master Chief holding it. I don't remember if people could use it from the beta, but... And then here's one of Master Chief holding it in-game. So I believe that wraps up this vid doc. Again, I'm just picking out the most interesting points to me and like zooming in and analyzing. So this next one is specifically to the story. Developing the game, visualizing the story. Okay, this first scene. This is a little skeptical, but... So this is that shot of Metropolis. When the Scarab comes up to the hospital marine building thing. Master Chief is... I think they just put Master Chief here for the video, but... What interests me is... You don't see that glowing... In vanilla right here, the Scarab glows from underneath, but it's not glowing. Now, this could likely just be the shader isn't finished. But you also see these orange spots here. And there's one on the leg. Most likely this is just unfinished shaders, but I just had the idea. What if these are like different weak spots for the Scarab? But probably not. It's probably just the shaders not finished. Okay, here's another cutscene. I'll just play it through. This one's in vanilla, but here it's showing like an unfinished version of it. So not a lot of the characters are animated. See, these grunts are just like A-posing, and the brutes in the background are just floating to the sky. But what stands out is this part right here. In vanilla, this is actually the same. This grunt that turns around and just floats away. It matches here because everything else is unfinished. But in vanilla, the grunt acts this way too. He floats away just like that. I don't know why that scene is still in vanilla. Maybe it's an error and they forgot to include the updated one. I don't know. Oh, but here, this is where we talk more about the Prophet helmet. Take a look at this. This is the early version of the Prophet helmet, but we get to see more detail of it. So it seems that the helmet was actually attached to their headdress, their oriental design. So I thought that was cool too. You'll see it when he turns here, yeah. The helmet right here, it's attached like ropes to the back part of him. And then we'll zoom in. It'll zoom in on his headdress. You can see it's just like an earlier version. And 1 second here. Yeah. It's just a little bit flat. The texture looks a little bit off. I don't know. But it could be the quality. But we don't see this design in vanilla. Okay. This is showing the Prophet boss fight. Everything looks pretty normal. But the Prophet looks like he's actually firing a hunter beam. It's green. In vanilla, it's like an orange bronzish color, but here it's green. So I thought that was cool. That's why I included it. This seems to be a change, like very close to vanilla, because everything else seems pretty finished here. Just the Prophet has a green beam. Okay, here. This scene really highlights to me like the Peace stencil lighting. Look at the lighting here. And then it's just an early shot of the Brute. But something I noticed on the Brute that's different. Right here in this frame, right here. Brute looks pretty normal, except he's got like this harness around his waist. That's not in vanilla Brutes. It looks like grenades are on like this what's the word? Like a belt around his waist. But these weird objects, this belt is not in vanilla here. These ones on the chest are normal. But this one right here, not in vanilla. These could be the cut spike grenades from Halo 2. But this is the only glimpse we see of those. Dig-Site just revealed their own that they have. And then here's just some more early shots of cutscenes. Alright, and that concludes that video. The next video, talking about designing the levels. Developing the game, designing the levels. Okay, we start out with the shot of the guy playing this computer. But I zoom in on the computer. And we see the plasma rifle, but I thought it was cool. It doesn't have like the heat meter proper. It's just like a white shape. And then the CE Sentinel beam appears to be. Okay, then we get some early shots of the level Uprising. I included this clip because the Elite has an empty energy sword you see right here. Now, in vanilla, you can't give AI empty weapons, so you never actually see an AI Elite with an empty energy sword. And of course, they don't run out of ammo. But wait a second. It looks like there was a red crosshair on that Elite. Yeah, that could be a bug, but that's probably a bug. Yeah, because on the map, he's yellow. Okay, now I included this clip because now I don't know how I noticed this, but do you notice anything different? This is Uprising, that last part where you fight the two wraiths. Well, other than the unfinished HUD, this tree is not in vanilla. This is a different tree that's in vanilla. Actually, just now I'm looking at it, I'm not sure these bushes are there either. But this tree is definitely different in vanilla. I've added in a vanilla shot right after this ends, and I'll show you. So this is vanilla. Okay. In vanilla, the bushes seem to be there. But look, the tree is different. There's these two skinny, like, sycamore trees in vanilla. I thought that was interesting. They probably changed it because this last tree... Let's see. Not really. I was going to say the foliage probably covered the ridge, but maybe from a farther back angle it did. That might have been the reason. The foliage was covering the ridge. And then these trees are much longer and higher. and have less foliage and are thinner. That could have been a reason. Okay, now we're on the mission, The Great Journey, when you first meet the ally hunters and elite with the dual-wield needlers. So I was watching this, and I was like, wow, did you just see that? If we go frame by frame, there's a jackal right there. And he's walking with you guys. So at first I thought there were supposed to be friendly jackals right here. But if we go a few more frames, if you look at the radar, the jackals are actually enemies, unfortunately. And in vanilla, that jackal never spawns. I watched gameplay, I played it myself. A jackal did never spawn here on any difficulty. I watched gameplay of people playing it. So that seemed to be cut, but in the mod files, there actually is a jackal, 2 jackals supposed to spawn there according to the... There's like a game editor for Halo 2, and there's a squad of jackals that are supposed to spawn there. But I don't know why, there must be an error, but they never spawn in vanilla. But I set them to spawn in with modding, and that's what they look like. They just run to there and then stop. Okay, now we're back to the developer, the documentary. And here, you see 3 elite allies. In vanilla, there's only ever 2 here. This is that prison sequence where you save the elites and 2 hunters from prison cells. But yeah, there's 3 elites here. In vanilla, there's never 3 elites. I've edited it. Yeah, this is a clip from vanilla I added. Just that sequence, the prison cells. And there's only 2 elites there. Okay, next is a shot from outskirts. Nothing out of the ordinary. Too much. Oh, and this is one of the flood levels. I added this because look at the crate. It's glowing white. Of course, that's not in vanilla. Oh, and take a look at this. This guy's talking, right? But we see this weird shape here. This was in the beta. And this is actually a plasma meter. So this looks like the CE HUD. So what would happen is as you were firing the plasma rifle, this would fill up, tell you when you were about to overheat. That was the purpose of that. We'll delve into it a little more in a later video. They talk about it more. Or they show it off more and I'll talk about it. And then here's just a zoom in of it. But yeah. And then next, this is Metropolis. That beginning bridge, nothing out of the ordinary, right? Pay attention to the sky, okay? A very clear sky. But in the next scene, the sky will be a little bit different. Okay? Look at the sky. I'll play it fully through so you can see it. There's dust. It looks like a cloud storm. Now this got me thinking. I think there might have been supposed to be dynamic weather. Oops. Because in this scene, it's not present, but here it is. So I thought it probably had some kind of dynamic weather system where a dust storm would kick in. And next, we get to see it on outskirts too. But it's like, it looks a little bit more like cinematic-y. So I wasn't too sure if this was also the same weather effect. But maybe. And let me know, I couldn't really tell, but do you guys think the map looks different at all? I did notice. Now, I looked through all these documentaries frame by frame, I'm telling you. And right here, take a look right here. I just noticed this little Easter egg of a guy standing there. I think it's a Marine, or I don't know what it is. It looks too small to be Master Chief. Let me move my mouse out of the way. In the video, it's so low quality. I don't know if a higher res version of this documentary exists, but if there is one, let me know. And we might be able to see what that figure is a little bit better. But other than that, the map looks the same to me, and other than that dust in the sky. Alright, what's next? Okay, so I've added this clip. We got to see a little shot of Cairo Station, right? Look at this frame. There's a bullet coming from the turret that spawns behind you. I'll show you in vanilla. And we get to see this little yellow dot showing that there's an ally up there. So this tells me there was a cut marine that was supposed to be operating that turret behind you. Because in vanilla, there's no marine there. In fact, there's a dead body there, but no marine. Now, I know there are marines that spawn behind you in the prior area. And then there are marines on the floor, but they never walk up here unless the player spent 30 minutes smacking them up there, which I doubt they did while the filming team was there, but yeah, that tells me that there's supposed to be a gunner on that turret. And then here's just another shot of the Banshees with like that weird fire effect I was talking about earlier. That's kind of like a downgrade to me that they got rid of that. It looked pretty cool. Actually, in vanilla, the heretics on their backs, they have these fins that stick out. That might be why the Banshees are open, so the heretics could fit in them. But I'm not sure. Okay, this next thing is super interesting. I haven't seen anyone talk about this, okay? Let me catch my breath. So, in the mod files, the Sentinel Enforcer, you can see I'm playing as one. This is my footage right here. But the Sentinel Enforcer had it had a cut weapon called the Charged Beam. It's only referenced by a tag path. It's called Sentinel Enforcer Charged Beam. But when you use it, as I'm playing as a Sentinel Enforcer, this is what it is. It's mostly blank. The only thing is it leaves like this little blue fire on the ground. Watch. See, it's like a Sentinel beam, but it's like completely nulled out almost. But I think this next scene might show what the Sentinel beam was supposed to be before they cut it out. And hear me out, okay? I'll show you the footage we have. Alright, I'll just play it once through, then go frame by frame, okay? It's short, like 3 seconds, so pay attention. Okay, that was it. That's all we have. And then I'll talk about this next scene. But, so what I want you to pay attention to is look at this green beam coming from the Sentinel Enforcer. At first, I thought this was a fuel, and then go by frame, it has a green explosion too. So, listen to this. Firstly, I thought this was a fuel rod flood, right? But it doesn't make sense for it to come from this angle. The cliffs back here are really high up, so there's no way it was on a cliff, and you see nothing here. And in vanilla, I don't even think there's flood in this area. But what it looks like is it's coming from the Enforcer. There is a Sentinel Aggressor right here too. But the way projectiles work, like you see these rockets here, they don't start directly out of the unit. There's like a little space of blankness, like you see with the rockets here. This one is a little bit close, but... And also, it isn't just the fuel... It's not the fuel rod explosion and smoke, okay? Because, in the next few frames, it explodes into like a ring shape right here. And there's different particles that come out of it. So this is what makes me think this was the Sentinel Enforcer Charged Beam. It was supposed to be green. So I thought that was really interesting. But I'm not done talking about it. So take a look here at the Sentinel Enforcer. You also see one of its arms are sticking out very far here. You don't see that in vanilla either. So I think it had a different model arms to hold the Sentinel Charged Beam weapon. And then it shoots the Spectre there. And then the next scene will show a little bit more. It has that weird arm sticking out. Let me go back a frame. Yeah, you get to see it good here. Now, I believe it's not an extra arm. It's just a modified version of the regular arm. Or it could be a damaged state. But it's weird because This doesn't happen in vanilla, even when you damage it. I'll show you. Here's a clip of vanilla. Yeah, he's pounding into that arm. You never see it stick out like that. It was sticking out around the shield. This is vanilla I've added. Even when you damage the arm, it does not stick out like that. Definitely does not. So that's why I think it had a different arm that had the charge beam on it. Yeah, and then we just destroy it here. And then here's what the fuel rod looks like in vanilla too. If you thought that was a fuel rod projectile. When it doesn't explode into a ring, it explodes into like dust like this. And then the projectile is also different, like the bolt. That looks kind of like what's in the video, but a few frames it turns into like this orb, which doesn't happen. And then here it is once more again. Sorry, if you blink you'll miss it. It starts out on this frame when it's about to hit the Spectre. Again, it appears to be coming from the Enforcer. It looks a little bit off, like if I take the mouse, but the Sentinel Enforcer is moving, so it probably just moved down a few frames. And then look at the explosion effect too. It explodes into like the ring. That's why I think that's the charge beam. This is the only glimpse we see. But again, I'm not saying that 100%. That's just my speculation. But I think it's pretty solid. And then if just by chance, this is what the plasma pistol looks like. It doesn't have an orb explosion. If you thought that was the plasma pistol round. Or I mean a ring explosion. And then the bullet, it doesn't have a trail. It's just an orb that shoots out. Okay. And then we see some early like flashcards of levels. But the description is pretty different. This Burial Mound's not so much. So what you want to pay attention here is right here. I'll read it. So again, Burial Mounds. The description for it. Location: on the surface of Delta Halo, near several entrances / bunkers of a Covenant-controlled excavation. A Covenant-controlled excavation, sorry. But I've added in, this is what I added in vanilla, this is the description. This makeshift heretic camp on basis is littered with wreckage from the destruction of Installation 04. So this one says on Delta Halo, bunkers of a Covenant-controlled excavation, which technically is heretic, but I just thought it was cool. There's a little discrepancy there. But this next one is a lot more different. This is what they have for Lockout, the map Lockout. A Forerunner prison complex for unknown creatures that hangs under a large cliff projection. A Forerunner prison complex for unknown creatures that hangs under a large cliff projection. The keyword here, prison complex. I thought that was really cool. Really interesting because in vanilla, there's no allusion to that. In vanilla, it says, some believe this remote facility was once used to study the flood, but few clues remain amidst the snow and ice. So here it's a little more ambiguous. It doesn't refer to it as a prison complex, but more of like a science facility. So between this and vanilla, the lore kind of changed a little bit. It was originally a prison complex, but now it's like a remote facility. Okay, so that wrapped up that documentary. The next sequence I put together is for this one. Halo 2 Beyond Single Player, Multiplayer, and Live. So this one focused more on multiplayer aspects, but this one had the most interesting stuff to me, other than that whole thing about the Sentinel Enforcer charge beam. Let's begin. So this guy's talking like normal, but look at these monitors again in the background. What the heck is this weapon? This is nothing like we see in vanilla at all. And then these reticles are a little bit different too. But I have a zoom in shot of the gun. any second now. This is not like anything in vanilla. To me, this looks like a double barrel shotgun. Here, I'll just play it through. The reticle's weird. And then he moves it for a few frames. It definitely looks like a double barrel shotgun to me. I don't know if they had a civilian weapon or what. But when he moves it, there's something that moves up here. Yeah, I'll just play a few frame by frame again. He lifts it up and then something up there moves too, but it could be his hand. Oh! It gets... I don't know if that might be his hand. But yeah, nothing like we see in vanilla. A civilian double barrel shotgun maybe? I can't make out what any of the HUD is. It's too low quality. Okay, and then the next screen is a shot of some reticles. So the middle is Covenant, beam rifle, plasma pistol, plasma rifle. The right, I don't know what that is actually, Magnum, SMG. But on the left, these are Forerunner reticles. In vanilla, we only get to see this. This is for the Sentinel beam. Right? But what are these three weapons? These could be cut weapons for the Sentinels. I saw Vengeful Vadim, the modder, you know, and YouTuber. He made these might allude to the cut needler for Sentinels that he made. And he has some more info on it. But one of these could be the charge beam I was showing earlier with the Sentinel Enforcer. One of these could be just that. We may never know. Assuming that it would be a usable weapon. And then here's just some more shots of the early multiplayer builds. I couldn't make out what map this was. That's why I included it. Is this Zanzibar? And then we get to see a early version of Zanzibar. Everything looks so clean. Look how white the concrete is. I might like that look more. And then they're just fighting. Nothing else looks too different. Oh, and I included this clip is because, look at this. The shield bar is shaped like this. That's not in vanilla. In vanilla, it just goes around the map like this. So I thought that was cool too. And then the next scene, this one is actually using the CE shield bar and health. If you don't know, health was actually cut from Halo 2. There was a health pack in Halo 2. But yeah, that was interesting. And also, okay, we're back to the plasma meter I was talking about earlier. But this time it's used on human weapons. And also the shield bar is in a third different place. In the top right again, but it looks different than the CE one. Alright, move to the next monitor. Nothing out of the ordinary here, just some bodies. But we see the ammo meter if it's used on human weapons. But we just see it like a normal state. But here, we get to actually see it in use. So he's using the battle rifle. It's not on the right side, but it goes under the reticle here. And notice how in the top left, there is no ammo counter on the top left. Or anywhere. Why? Because it's right here, under the reticle. I'll just play this video out in full. And it actually goes down when he shoots it. So that would have been the ammo counter when used here. See? It's a little over halfway. It stops right here. But when he shoots a couple rounds, now it's at the halfway mark. Right here. So yeah, I don't know why they're using it on the battle rifle. It seems more of like a plasma thing. But I think this is the only time we ever get to see it in use. I can't remember any other footage of this. And then here we get to see the Covenant elusive binoculars. This is not in vanilla. It does not look like this at all. So this is the only scene we get to see of this too. And I think that might wrap this up. So finally, for fun, I've just added some scenes of like the peace stencil, I guess, lighting, early scenes of gameplay that I've compiled. It's just 3 small sequences. But yeah, let's play it. Boom, just the lighting looks different. And then this one. Look, there's jackals on this mission, on the heretic mission. You don't see jackals on those missions. And a regular elite. And then some elites walking around. And I believe that's all. Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to get a little hoarse. This is actually my second time recording this video. Because the first time the video was in the wrong aspect ratio. So half of the screen was cut off. So I re-recorded it. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. It took me forever to edit that too. All those video clips together. Like hundreds of them. But let me know. I will plan to do one of these on like the guidebooks too. Of the guidebooks of Halo 2. Because they have a ton of like weird cut content. And those it talks about stuff that like doesn't even exist in the game. So I assume that's cut content. So let me know if you want me to do one of these deep dives for like a guidebook or a magazine for Halo 2. If this video does well, I probably will do that. But let me know. And thank you for watching.
Look down! I see it too. Let the slaughter begin. Where's your honor now, elite? This is far enough. Not yet. Keep going.